Welcome, everyone, to episode 87 of Missing Pieces. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day, your week, and your life to be here with me. This episode is going to continue on with the trend that we started last week, which was to take Missing Pieces more into a topical route. And last week I discussed 10 years on YouTube and my experience with that and advice that I have for you if you're considering starting a YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any of those things, you can listen to episode 86. But this week, I've got a new topic to discuss. But while we're on the topic of topics, oh boy, this is getting deep. This is like Inception here. If you have any topics that you would like to discuss next week, or something that you would like me to bring up, or something that you think would make a great conversation, throw it in the comments down below here, because I'll be looking for something like that to get into. As I found that my life, I'm documenting so much of it, I find that Missing Pieces, I'm kind of just sitting here telling you about things that I've recorded that you're about to see if you're subscribed to my vlog channel, which I'm sure many of you that listen to this probably are. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of take this into a little bit of a different direction and kind of discuss things that I find interesting. Hopefully you do as well. And today's episode is on a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for well over a month now. This is actually stemming from a comment that I got from someone after I made a few videos with two differing points of view that apparently I'm a hypocrite on. The first one was where I missed out on a Lego yard sale haul by a fraction of seconds. And I made mention in that video that I hope that it was a guy and his son. He bought this Lego set right in front of me, like I could have reached for it, and it was gone. I made a comment as the guy was walking away with my $5 Lego set that I would have loved to have and build because I'm passionate about Lego. I mentioned that maybe you could tell. I mentioned that I hope that he wasn't going to just flip that or sell it on eBay, right? Because it's easy to say that when you're passionate about a product or something you're interested in. You're like, oh, I hope he enjoys that as much as I would have. Well, that was 1 week. And then a week later, or maybe a few weeks later, I ended up coming across this Pokemon card lot, which I know nothing about Pokemon, really don't have any skin in the game when it comes to Pokemon, but I saw it there and I asked the lady how much it was, and she told me $15. And I looked at this massive supply of Pokemon cards and I thought instantly, oh, I bet I can make some money off of this. So I bought it from her and brought it home. Really didn't think much of it until I got the comment that says, well, Greg, that's pretty hypocritical of you for 1 week saying that you hope the person doesn't resell it, and then the next week you are okay with reselling it. And I think for me, again, it comes down to whether you're passionate about something or not. But maybe it really did get me thinking, like maybe I should have left those Pokemon cards there for a kid that really loves Pokemon. I'm just a middle-aged dude. Can I say, oh, I am middle-aged. I'm just a middle-aged dude that's looking to maybe make some profit off something that I found for cheap. And is that good or bad? So I was pondering it and I thought, this would make a really great video or podcast topic. So I threw it out to my audience and I did a community post, and this is what I wrote. I said, I'm working on a video or podcast titled Are Resellers Bad?, where I discuss reselling, flipping, scalping, and my thoughts on the act of reselling. All products, not just Lego. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Why? Are people wrong to buy something and sell it for more? Do they have the right to do that? Should they? Does the market determine a fair price and these people are in the clear? Is it a natural part of capitalism? Is it ethical? I know you all have an opinion on this, and I would love to get your feedback on this topic and hopefully add it to my video for a better discussion. Thanks. And oh my gosh, you guys came out in droves with opinions on this, and I thought for today's episode, I would read your guys' responses to this because there were so many good ones, and I thought, man, this is such a great topic to discuss. And as you'll see as we go through these, it's kind of all over the board as to how people feel about it. So I thought I could throw all of this out to you, and you can make a decision for yourself in this episode. Or you can at least maybe start thinking about it a little more and maybe see something. Maybe you already have an opinion. Maybe your opinion's set on this. Maybe you'll hear something today that changes your opinion on it, whether it's one way or another. Because as we find out here, I don't think there is any true right answer to this. But we're going to jump into this. These are in no particular order. I just found ones that I thought were interesting, and I thought maybe you would too. So let's jump into it with Friar Phil's Bricks, who has the first response to my opinion on are resellers bad people or just bad in general. And he says, as a Lego collecting pastor who is on a limited income, I've been buying sets on Marketplace and reselling them at market value on Bricklink for a couple years now. I look at this as a way to support my hobby and so I can get the sets I actually want. I'm going to try, I think that's a great response, Friar Phil, if you're listening to this. I'm going to try not to inject my opinions on these after I read them. I'm just going to read them all, and then I'm going to tell you what I think at the end. And I'll also tell you what Mrs. Brickitect thinks too, because I asked her yesterday in the car as we were driving to the store. I said, hey, what's your thoughts on this? So if you want to hear Mrs. Brickitect's opinion, stay until the end. It'll be me saying it though, so maybe the hype's not quite there, but there's our first response. Next one comes from a gentleman by the name of Brick Tazar. He says, this question takes me back to the early days on YouTube when people would get in the comment section saying it's wrong for anyone to sell something for more than they paid for it. How do they think stores work? It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't a rare occurrence. As with almost anything there in life, there are those that take things to one extreme or the other. The next one comes from Michael Rinaldi. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's leaving comments on here, has responded to this. I'll say thank you individually, but we'll kind of keep things moving here. So thank you, Bricksar, for that, or Jabbo. Next one comes from Michael. He says, as someone who has sold products on eBay for 20 plus years, I have this to say. When you go to the park, do you feed the bear? If you don't buy from these people, eventually the items won't be worth the time and investment. But if you continue to buy, then this cycle will continue, and you have no excuse put to blame yourself. Ooh, spinning it around. I said I wasn't going to comment. My opinion is similar to this, but again, I'm going to hold that off. Got to read them, boys. All right, this next one comes from Richard, who says, I don't mind resellers marking up prices on older items with no longer made. I'm not a fan of buying the stores out of an item that's in demand. Give others a chance to pick up the item for retail. Okay, this is Mrs. Brickitect's thoughts on it, but again, we'll save that. Chris says, I'm okay with the average reseller. I'm a Bricklink seller, so I do resell. I also attend local toy shows and events and sell Lego and toys, again, as a reseller. My problem is the scalpers. There's nothing illegal about what they do, but in my opinion, it's a bit unethical. It's especially frustrating when something is so limited and the scalpers game the system to get multiple copies of the limited item. In the end, they can do what they want as long as it's legal. I look forward to your video. Have a glorious day. You have a glorious day, Chris. Thank you for the response. Next one comes from Felix. He says, I personally think there is no right or wrong. It's just how people perceive it. So if others can do it, why can't I? It's really not doing any harm. It's giving people the chance to own something they thought they once missed out on, but it's more okay to sell something that's really old, say the 2014 Lego Batcave, compared to something that's less than a month old, the Ulysses, for high prices. I don't like it when resellers take advantage of the hype, but if I had an item, I'd probably do the same. Like what I'm doing right now in an art piece that I got. It's limited edition, but I know his art is valuable, so I want to make some extra cash. It's really complicated. I'm more on the fence. Happy to get the item to sell, angry if I miss out on the chance to get it to sell. I'm going to comment on this one. I can't resist. I'm sorry, Felix. I have to. I like the fact that you recognize that there's a problem with it, but you also say I'm actively participating or would participate in if I had the opportunity. And does that make you a hypocrite? Maybe. But, at least it's good to be honest that you would take advantage of a deal or a sale or something you had that you could profit from if it's something that you see an opportunity in. I like that. I said I wasn't going to comment. I'm probably going to comment. I'm going to keep going. Let's go with Michael on the next one. He says, absolutely. His answer to his question, or the question of, are resellers bad? He says, absolutely. The current culture of immediate sellouts showing up instantaneously on eBay and other resale sites for super inflated prices makes my blood boil. I think Lego wants this to continue as it constantly steps up demand, just like what's happening in the current generation game console releases right now. Absolutely nothing but pure greed. It's despicable at best. Ooh, that's some spicy words there. I like it. Blood boiling, despicable, pure greed. You talked about the consoles. Oh, my soul. Anyways, let's go on to the next one. This is from New England 4. It says, do I like scalpers jacking up the price of highly sought items? No. It can actually be quite infuriating. But it's a part of capitalism, supply and demand. Sometimes you hit, and other times you miss out. And Fuzzy has a similar stance on this. He says, capitalism. If supply can't keep up with demand, then prices will increase. I have no problem with people choosing to do it. If scalping with bots is such a problem, I believe it's up to sellers, retailers, to stop it, not laws or regulations. I think that's probably an unpopular opinion, but yeah, you mentioned bots. We're going to talk more about that here in a little bit. Keel says, I like this. He says, why do people in this country wave everything away with, it's capitalism? Yeah, slavery and child labor were capitalism too. Ooh, okay, spicy. Next one is from Leg Bros. Love the name. It says, I find that by dealing with things that are mostly retired and cannot be had by any possible way any longer, I'm an integral part of the Lego community. Is it integral or integral? Integral? Integral. One of those two. You know, my wife's an English teacher. I should bring her down as a guest on this one. Something part of the Lego community, and this would not be worth my time or efforts if I didn't make money doing it. Therefore, resellers are essential to the life and collecting of Lego, scalping all the new sets from a store so no child has the chance to buy it knowing it will sell out making 200% profit and 2 days later. That's a different story, but that's also how capitalism works, and you can't blame them for making their way in this world. Ethically, some issues could be seen, but like I said, I play no part in that, so that is for them to decide. All I think is resellers who aren't flipping new sets are providing a clear-cut necessity to the hobby. You just ask, will Lego sell you 100 of your favorite stormtroopers they retired 10 years ago? Without us out here, how would you get them? Great question. Great question. All right, let's go to Ben C on this next one here. He says, there's opportunists and there's scalpers. There's a fine line between both. And where do you draw that line? Am I an opportunist for buying my Pokemon cards for $15 that I can hopefully resell for more? Or am I a scalper for finding those and doing it? I don't know. It's a good question. Webmaster says, I think reselling is not such a bad thing. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes. But once you buy an item, you can choose what you want to do with it. People love to make money, and they try and find any way to make more and more of it. Exactly true. Very well said. Elke, hopefully I'm saying this right, says, it comes down to ethics. I understand people want to make a profit, but the reselling and scalping has gotten out of hand. Lego and other companies need to take responsibility too. Properly supply products, second person mentioning this, and crack down on the price gouging. It's ridiculous to see a Lego set still sitting on stores being sold on eBay at higher prices. Unfortunately, it's the true fans, usually kids, who suffer because these things are no longer affordable or obtainable to them. Consumerism, capitalism, and greed has taken over. I'm selling off my Star Wars collection, and if selling it for what I paid means some kid can enjoy it, that's more important. The next one comes from Joker. He says, I think that reselling once a product is discontinued is justified since it would be hard to get. But if a product has been just released and you buy the whole stock of it and resell it for twice the price, that crosses a line. That's not justifiable. That's just wrong. But on the other hand, there's nothing stopping them. They have the right to resell, and I don't think they should, but there are very few cases where I think it would be something they should do. Lego, for example, is already expensive, but for a reseller to sell something for twice the price is crazy, but it's very possible. That's true. The Nerd Abides has the next response to this question. Are resellers bad? He says, I think the intention behind the reselling matters. If someone is reselling a bunch of stuff they found on clearance at a garage sale, I don't take issue with that because there's a ton of an item on clearance. Because if there's a ton of item on clearance, it means there wasn't much of a demand for it anyways. So if you flip those items in eBay for its actual market value or a bit more, you're really just selling that item to someone who really wants and needs the item, but at the same time making some money. It's a win-win situation. I think that's a great point. In terms of Lego or other collectibles, I do find scalpers annoying because generally there is already a demand for an item, and they take advantage of that and will go to an event to beat out others and purchase a large stock of something just to mark it up 200%. A lot of the time, it's a combo between the manufactured scarcity and the scalpers that create the situation. I think that's a fantastic reply from the Nerd Abides. The next response is from Trainer Lucarian. He said, it's all about adding value. If someone is selling something at a garage sale or if a retailer is clearancing out items, I think it's okay to buy that item in large quantities for reselling purposes. If in both of these situations, they don't want that item on their shelves and you are adding value by storing the item and then getting the item to the person who needs it and never had a real opportunity to buy the item at that price, which is what the Nerd Abides was saying. When someone buys out something at a retailer at retail prices, like say hand sanitizer at the beginning of the pandemic last year, they're not adding value as the store does want the item on the shelf and people have plenty of access to the item, but until the reseller comes in and buys all of the item. If the reseller becomes a scalper and doesn't add any value, they're a bad person. Okay. The next response here comes from All Lux. He says, if a person goes out of their way to buy a product, then they can do and sell it as they please. The only times I see this being an issue is when bots auto-buy products like the PS5 and make it scarce. That way it gives people a little option to buy but to buy at their high marked up prices. When it comes to retired products, those items had their shelf life, and those who are now selling those products can determine the price based on what they think it's worth or what they think people are willing to pay. People always have the choice to buy it or not. And if they think it's worth it, then they'll buy it. If not, they are free to move on and spend their money elsewhere. Great point. And this kind of plays into my opinion on this as well, which I'll be saving till the end, sort of, even though you're kind of seeing it. Brick Scene says, I think there's a very fine line between scalping, flipping, and genuinely selling stuff to grow your collection. Here in New Zealand, we have a ton of scalpers who go in droves to the Lego store in the morning of any significant release to get the gifts with purchase and then sell them off, as well as the sets at high prices on local marketplaces that very afternoon. It's clear what they're doing, but who am I to say they're wrong? There's no law against it. Sure, it might be unethical, but to who? Same goes for buying up sets to sell later on. You could say some resellers are essentially providing a service to the wider community and that they have retired sets when they are otherwise long gone from retail, which of course is great for new AFOLs. I have thought about touching on this subject myself, but I really don't think there is an answer or solution. And we brings us to our last one here from my friend Dave or Scott's Toys, who basically went one for one answering all of my questions. And he says, sharing my thoughts. Is it a good thing, bad thing? I think it's a little of both. Reselling in general, I actually think provides a service that is value to a lot of people. However, there is a line, bots and buying out inventory intentionally to create a shortage, where it becomes anti-consumer. And that's been reflected in a lot of these responses that we've had so far. Are people wrong to buy something and sell it for more? No. I think it's a large part of how everything functions. I like to think that most jobs are about taking something and adding value to it and then selling it for more. Again, the comment of value. Are you adding value to it? For some people, this is taking time or labor and exchanging it for income. Others purchase raw materials like canvas and paint, turn it into art, and resell it. Reselling, I look at as more about arbitrage, finding a good for one price and somewhere and offering it in a different market where it demands a higher value. Do they have the right to do that? Yes, currently the law does grant people the right to take physical items purchased and allow them to resell them to other individuals for financial gain. Should they? Starting to move over into ethics a bit on this one, but I think yes. A reseller is making a good or service available to people who are interested in purchasing it. I'm happy to have old retired Legos and collectibles available to me from periods that I wasn't able to be there to purchase them. Again, another response that has come up several times. Does the market determine a fair price, and are these people in the clear? I think this is 100% accurate. Pricing is determined by what people are willing to pay for it. Naturally, I may want to sell a $10 set for $100, but the truth is that unless there are people out there willing to pay $100 for it, I'm not going to make much money, which will in turn require me to drop my asking price in order to bring in income. Is it a natural part of capitalism? I think that embodies the spirit in capitalism, without the abuse of people, and that is largely about making these items available to a larger market as a means to generate income. This is the same concept done on a smaller scale as what a distributor does. A distributor purchases goods and services from a manufacturer, stores them, markets to the stores, individuals, and sells them and ships them for a profit. This helps to make these goods available to more people than what just the manufacturer is able to reach. A reseller I view as a distributor and marketer of goods purchased from many small manufacturers or other distributors. So that's Dave's response to it. And I think his, more than anyone's, embodies pretty much everything that everyone else says. It kind of, I think what we came away from with this, I think, most people aren't okay with scalpers or bots, people that instantly go buy something that, say, is a limited release or available just in very small quantities. Take a PlayStation 5, for example, or a Lego set that when it's released and there's, a limited quantity there. The people that instantly go out and buy that thing just to take advantage of people, there's not much value there, right? You might be allowing someone that, say, didn't get up early enough to get that item, but they're paying the price. But that brings me to my thoughts on this. And that is, and I've said this many times before, and that's that you should vote with your wallet on this, on your stance on this. If you don't like resellers or scalpers for that matter, don't buy their items. I know it may be tempting to, have that $100 Lego set that you really wanted that you couldn't get that came out yesterday and they're selling it for $200 and you're like, okay, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do this. But again, like what Dave said, that if they can sell at that price, they're just going to keep doing that. I do think that reselling, like in the case of my Pokemon cards, I think that's fine. And a lot of people made mention of this, like you're bringing this to market. So not many of you may have access to a yard sale in central Pennsylvania on some random Saturday morning where there's a ton of Pokemon cards there. The person that's there, they have no interest in selling these on eBay or in a mass market like that. I go there, I see an opportunity for it, I buy them, and then I resell them. Is that ethical to do? Would it be better to let the kid get it? Possibly, but who's to say there would be a kid that got it? Maybe if I left it there thinking that, there would be another person that would come along and do the same exact thing as me. Would it make me sad as a Pokemon lover as I'm walking up to see this guy grab all these Pokemon cards and maybe you know for certain that he's not a Pokemon enthusiast and he's just going to go sell them? Yeah, that sucks. But it just comes down to your love of something and your passion for something. I'm okay with people buying things to resell, especially clearance items. Just like was mentioned several times here, like you find something at a discount without much demand on it. Okay, that's sitting there. No one bought it from Walmart for whatever price. They have it marked at 50% off. Nothing wrong with you going in and picking that up and then reselling it, because you may find instant value in that. Like there might be people that don't go to your Walmart. Because I get comments all the time when I share deals where I'm like, hey, this is 30% off on Amazon. And people are like, oh, I got it for 50% off at Walmart. And I'm like, well, that's cool if you go to your Walmart, but not everyone has access to that. So if you're opening the market up to other people being able to buy this thing and maybe completely happy with the price. Like sure, some of us are discouraged when you go to get the Ulysses, for example, like Felix mentioned, and all of a sudden the thing is just skyrocketed because Lego did a poor job of making them and distributing them. That sucks. But if it's something like that you find in clearance, like a Lego City set that you bought for $2 and you sell it for $10, that's a massive profit. Are you a scalper? Not really, because that thing sat there for a year and no one picked it up. So I'm okay with that. I have a real issue, like Allux was saying, with bots, the people that are going in and like, I guess when new things come out, that's when it hurts the most, I suppose. Like you want a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, right? And you're sitting there on Walmart and you're refreshing the button, waiting for that minute to hit. And I've been there and I was there. And then you click and instantly sold out. That's fine if everybody was just trying to get one, but for certain that there's people out there that are running programs that are buying many of these or one of these or however many they're buying, and you have enough people doing that, and then they're instantly turning around and selling them. That's scalping, and I have a real issue with that. But again, if you don't buy their products, if you refuse to buy a $500 PlayStation for $1,000, that kind of defeats them, right? Like what are you going to do? Why would you keep doing it, right? But if people keep buying it because they want it and they're desperate for it, then they do it. And that brings us into the comment of, is it capitalism? Is that what the market determines? And a part of it is yes. I mean, if you take your subjective opinions of this out of it, the market will determine the price. Maybe Walmart should just sell them for $1,000. Like if people are willing to pay that, why doesn't Walmart do that? Or whoever. And if people are willing to do that, I guess that's fair. I guess you can do that. People make crazy decisions when they are in the moment. Emotional decisions are very dangerous ones to make, and that's oftentimes what happens with online auctions and with things that are sentimental to people or something that people really want. They make decisions that probably aren't for the best financially, but they still do it. So it kind of takes us back to the fact that I don't think there's any real right or wrong answer to this. There's no laws against scalping as far as I know, if you want to call it that, or reselling. Otherwise, I would think that these things wouldn't exist on eBay, right? You wouldn't see a Lego set that sells for $200 in store for $400 instantly. But I do love the idea of, and you guys, a lot of you mentioned this, I love the idea that many of you who are resellers feel like, and I agree with you, that you are performing an essential activity or something. You're providing a lot of value to someone because you bought something 5 years ago with the hopes of making some money on it, and you let it sit on your shelf in your home or your Bricklink store or whatever, and now you put it up for sale today. Lego isn't selling anymore. It's hard to get. You probably have it sealed. Maybe it's rare now. There's nothing wrong with that in my mind of bringing that to market and allowing the market to determine the price on it. And if that happens to be 2 times what you paid for it, 4 times what you paid for it, 10 times what you paid for it, you're not a bad person for putting that out there, right? You were the guy that put your money on the line. You're the guy that stored it forever. You're the guy that listed it, and you're the guy that's going to ship it out. You're doing all this, and that's what Dave was getting at, I think. It's crazy, but it definitely got me thinking, like, is this the right or wrong thing to do? And Cody's stance on this, I told you I would share her thoughts on it. her thoughts are, if you're going to go into a store and like rate it for all these things on clearance even or whatever, she thinks about the kids and how they would be missing out on it, for example. And she's like, there should be a limit on how many you take. Like, not like a law or a store rule or whatever like that. Just something in your heart that's like, okay, if there's 30 of this set here that are massively marked down, maybe you could leave a few for someone else, right? And I've kind of done that as well. I've made fun of myself for not being a very good businessman. Like, if I see a Lego set that's on clearance, and I've had opportunities before to, like, swoop life or whatever and take them all, I usually just take the thing that I want I'm going to build because it's for my collection. But when I watch these other videos, especially Dave's, for example, where he's selling these sets that he got on clearance for profit later on, it really is tempting to be like, man, maybe I should start thinking more like that and grabbing them all, But I guess you got to determine where you're at in life and what you want to do. But ultimately, again, I think the best thing you can do, if you're against resellers or people that scalp or whatever's happening, vote with your wallet. If you think it's fair, the price that they're selling it is fair. Like, if you brought an old modular to market 10 years after it came out and you put it up for sale and you think that's a fair price, go ahead and buy it. If you don't, then don't. It's ultimately up to you. As consumers, we decide what the prices are. So that's where the capitalism comes in. And it's just, you're in control of this. You don't have to sit back and like be upset, although you can, because maybe you aren't participating, but other people are. I guess you just have to hope collectively as a group we all kind of get behind this. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. This is going to be one of those things that probably persists. I do hope that they find a way to thwart these bots and things when you're trying to buy stuff. And I would really love it if these companies knew just how much people love their products and be willing to pay them for it, and they would make more of it. But a lot of times that artificial scarcity really does drive up hype and demand. Like, Nintendo has existed in this world for a very long time. Lego, I'm finding in the last year or so, is really kind of getting into that world as well. And I think it's a world that we're going to continue to live in. So the only thing you can do is navigate it, make the decisions that are best for you, avoid emotional spending if at all possible. And if something's just too much and you think it's outlandish, or if somebody is trying to scalp you, just pass on it. Just don't. And then you got nothing to complain about, right? Other than maybe not having the product, which in itself is kind of a bummer. But there it is, guys. That is, I guess, our thoughts, or your thoughts and my thoughts and Mrs. Brickitect's thoughts, I suppose, on, are resellers bad, or are bad people? I hesitate to say bad people, because I don't think just because you perform an action of selling or even scalping, it doesn't make you a bad person. Being a person is so much more than what you do for money. I'm the perfect person to ask about that, because I did something for money that I didn't necessarily believe in my old job. But sometimes you gotta pay the bills and stuff. So that's where I'm at on it. I'd love to hear where you're at on this topic. I probably won't revisit this for another time next week, but if you're curious to see what other people have to say about this that maybe aren't in the community posts that I did, you can leave your comment down below about this. And again, also, I would love to hear from you on a topic that you would like to talk about next week. And if I find something really good in there, I'll do another community post and we can keep like a conversation going, which I like the way this is, because it all happens in the same episode. It's much better than me talking about something and then we come back next week and kind of revisit again. I'd love it all to be in the same thing. So if we get a topic kind of settled up on this week, or topics even, and then I do a community post, we discuss it there, I come here and bring it to you guys this way. I think this is really cool. And you'll have to let me know, what do you think about this, the direction of this series? Do you like talking about topics like this, like reselling or YouTube, whatever else? Or would you rather just me talk about my life? Because I could certainly do that, but I also film my life, so it's all there. It's all out there for you guys. So let me know. Leave some comments. I love to hear them. I love to read them. I do want to thank everyone for all the positive comments on last week's episode, of course, on 10 years in YouTube. It made me feel really good to see that. And here's to another 10 years and lots more Missing Pieces episodes. So on that, guys, thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you would like to listen to this podcast as opposed to watch it on YouTube and you don't want to use your data, you can download it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything else that you listen to podcasts on. And I think on that, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces episode.